Whoops. Okay, hello everybody. Sorry about that. That was kind of stupid. Hello everybody. Welcome, welcome if you're tuning in now. Oh, that's the wrong scene. Man, I am all over the place. This is the scene I wanted. I'm setting up my, my inputs and whatnot. Hello, welcome to anyone tuning in. Welcome, welcome. I see I have 0 viewers so far. But yeah, it's a night. Tonight is a night, indeed. Welcome to anyone tuning in. We're currently... There was some news last night, as I'm sure you're all aware. I am very, very tired today, so I don't know how long this live stream is going to go for, but... yeah. Welcome, welcome to the one person tuning in right now. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, nothing much is happening right now. Just streaming. I do have Rain on X prepped if I want to do any analysis. Don't really know what I'm talking about. There's no topic of the night, really. Tonight is just another night. Truly, it is just another night. Hey there, hey David Waker, how's it going? How's it going? Glad to have you in chat. Yo, the Krush, I think that's how it's pronounced. I mostly am deciding to do this, well, primarily because I had a Dungeons & Dragons session get canceled tonight. Which is alright, that happens. DM was sick. But, so I don't have any topics planned. Ask me whatever you want to ask. If you want to ask me anything in chat. The biggest topic in the day right now is, that a lot of people are talking about is the whole Skillsgate controversy and discussion surrounding that, but I don't have to talk about that because I don't want to be negative. I posted my thoughts on that whole thing. If you want to see it, you can see the news there, or not the news, the post that I made not that long ago. But yeah, woke up to Reddit exploding about the skill proc shadow ban. Skipped through today's video and saw that they will change how skill triggers work. No specifics yet, right? We don't know how they're going to change it, but the news really is that they already changed it. And they're now working to correct it a little bit. That's basically what it all is. I don't think it's a major change that affected too many players, unless you used a lot of skills specialists, or it was during like a super skills week. And ultimately, it's not like you were hurt by having more procs. It's just skills mons weren't as good after a certain number of procs per day. More of a shadow nerf than a shadow ban, yeah. You feel affected by it? Personally, let's see. Okay. I didn't think I'd be affected by it at all. Much. Let's look at a typical team that I'd run. Okay? This is a team that I would run. Teams that I have been running. And it does contain 3 skill specialists. But actually, I'm more likely to run Palmot because if I'm looking for shards, then this is what I'm aiming for. So, like, these guys, and then, like, I don't know, Alola Tails and Sceptile. So, let's see. They said that the shadow ban, or the nerf, the shadow nerf, happens around 20 skill triggers per day. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely being impacted by it. I said I didn't think I was being impacted by it, but looking at these numbers, yeah, I'm being impacted by it. Pretty significantly, actually. Oh, wait, that's if you're using good camp ticket. I don't have good camp ticket active, so let me correct that. Even if, though, that's still... Because it said 20 skill triggers a day. I mean, we're looking at 14 across these two guys. 18 with this guy added on. 19, 20 with the Alola Tails before even accounting for the Palmot being an extra 6. So yeah, that's just average expected output per day. I guess theoretically they would trigger before I go to bed at 10:30 p.m. Oh wait, whoops. Not 8:30 a.m. We'd be looking at before 10:30 p.m. So was I being affected by it before I went to bed? Well, actually, no, usually it's midnight, but either way, whoops. Oh, wait, whoops, I did the opposite way. Okay. 8:30 a.m. to, let's say, just like 11:30 p.m. Still, I don't know. I might not have been affected by it too much. So, I don't know. Only time would tell about that, but, I guess it only really affected me with nighttime triggers, which was the intention of the Shadow Nerf. So, yeah, I'm not too bothered by it. I didn't think I'd be bothered by it anyway, but I wonder if it impacted my Master 20 Amber Canyon run. Because that is something that I did not account for, because we didn't know it existed. My team looked like... Let's see, it was that guy. It was... How can I not remember this team? It was Cresselia. I should know this team from the back of my hand. I studied it for months. I know one was Arbok. That's obvious. Arbok at level 65. Alolan Ninetales, I know, is another one. Where's that? There it is. What were the other two members of the team? How can I not remember this? Oh, it was Raichu and Dedenne. That's right. Raichu and Dedenne. But it was level 63. Was this team being impacted by it? With all the boosts, it probably was. Well, it was good camp ticket, really. It was like the only thing. But either way, let's see. Well, maybe not. Because that'd be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 19, or 11, 17. Yeah, I was being impacted by it. So, during the my Master 20 Amber Canyon run, I was being nerfed and didn't know about it. Oh, wait, but this guy was sneaky snacking. So, never mind. I was doing fine. Because this is only like 7 plus like another 7 here, 14. Okay, never mind. That still does exceed 20. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. Either way, more of a shadow nerf than a shadow buff. Well, collect frequency is wrong. I don't know how much that changes your triggers. Oh yeah, that would. That would make an impact on I only play with that when I actually I'll be honest, I set it to 2.5 hours, but honestly, yes, that was my time between checks while I was at work, because my work only breaks, I get 2 breaks at work and an 8.5 hour shift, so yeah, I can only really check it once every 2.5 hours. But, that week I was going crazy, I was probably checking it close to every hour and a half. But either way, that's still 14 across these two, plus another 9. I mean, on the good days, I'd be screwed by it. That's really what the case was. On the good days, I'd be impacted by it. I'm very excited for the Heracross buff, to be honest. I had one sitting in the box, ready to invest for ages. Honestly, same. I have a Heracross. I don't have the phone synced to my computer right now, so I can't actually pull it up, like the screen to show you it in-game. But I do have it saved in my box in here, I believe. Yes, here it is. It's got skill trigger M, skill level up. So interestingly, it had main skill level 3. I did put one main skill seed into it a while back. For the first Super Skills Week, I believe, was when I did that. Because I wanted it to be proccing at level 7 for that event. But it's got Berry Fighting S as well, which is kind of cool. And then main skill up, Nature, with energy recovery down, so... Times 830. Oh well, whatever. Yeah, okay, maybe I wasn't being impacted by it all that much with this team in specific, but other teams might have been impacted by it. That's the thing is, if you're really... Unless you're doing a heavily skill trigger-focused team, you're probably not hitting the 20 per day that often. This was a very berry-focused team. You can see I only really used 2 skills mons, and one of the berry mons is also sneaky snacking, which completely drops its skill procs to 0. So, this team was hardly impacted by it, whereas, this team is oh yeah, I'm being impacted by it this week. Although this isn't the team I'm running. I'm actually running, instead of Sceptile, it's... Oh wait, but I am impacted by it because, sure, I don't have a good camp ticket active. I should have just set this in an override. Why didn't I do it that way? I'm at expert mode right now. And I have poison as the secondary berry with a 1.25 times skill trigger rate. So, yeah, I'm probably getting hit with it this week. Let's see. Arbok, but he's sneaky snacking. So maybe it's not that bad. What is my last Pokemon? I don't recall. Maybe it was... I know right now I'm running Rufflet and Mawile just for the time to get the candies. But yeah. Just no seeds to invest into it. Oh, the Heracross. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's like... yeah. Oh, I just noticed that running 4 Swallowts is now really nerfed. Here's the thing. It's still not nerfed. And here's why. Yes, this would be a lot of triggers. But the thing is, yes, it's nerfed, but it's diminishing returns. There still are returns. It's just not as much. Because, okay, if you assume, let's see, across all these months, let's just assume this was a 5th Swalot that's also producing 7 procs per day. In fact, we'll just assume like all these guys are the same. That in that case, then after 20 triggers across all of them, that's 4 off of each. That means the remaining 3.28 is halved. So take that, you're still getting an additional 1.64 off of all of them per day, on average. Which, multiply that out by across 5 in this assumption, that's an additional 8.2 procs. That's still like running a whole extra Swalot. So like, you still do get returns, especially with Dream Shard Magnet. Honestly, operating them when they're at the nerf of 50%, it's still a pretty solid Pokemon, because especially late week gains, you're not going to be gaining that many Dream Shards from running a strength alternative. So 50% is still better than the Dream Shard conversion rate. So like, I'd still think 4 Swallots and a healer late game, late week, is definitely a good play, even with this shadow nerf. But also, they're buffing it. Like, they're counteracting the effects of it a little bit. So, yeah. Also, it's not now nerfed. Yeah, it was a shadow nerf that's been around. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh no, my Golduck sucks now," and I was like, "No, your Golduck doesn't suck now. If it sucks now, it sucked always." It's literally the same as what it's been for months. There's no change. It's just now we know. We're now made aware of the change that they made a while ago. So, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Most people aren't hitting it in most circumstances. Skills Week does make a difference on that. If you were to run 4 Swallots and a healer, it would make a difference on that. But ultimately, these Pokemon are still good. I think the only one that it really, really hurts terribly is the idea of 4 Golducks and a healer. Because people have theorized that for a while as, like, the Generalist team. But, like, now that we know more, now that we know about this, yeah, this isn't going to work. Even if they had the, even if they had, like, the debuffs of expert mode, I bet they'd still be exceeding that number. Let's see. Yeah. 7 times 4, 30 something. Sorry, no, 28. 28, basically. 29 if you count for the decimal point. People love being upset. Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, your Golduck will soon be better in 1 or 2 different ways. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I understand why it's upset about in the community. I did make a post about this literally a couple, like, maybe a half hour ago. I'm disappointed with the devs, not because of the change. The change, I think, honestly, I agree with their stated reason. I think it's a weird change to implement to try and correct the issue that they were having. I think it's a weird decision, because I think there are other ways to have the intended result that doesn't have so many broader implications. Like maybe making it so that you can't collect skill triggers during your allotted from when your bedtime is for 8.5 hours, or just 8 hours even. Maybe 7. Like, just set a time frame based off of your in-game bedtime to say, from this time to this time, you can't collect the triggers. That way you're not impacting their skill trigger rates, you're not hurting their overnight procs from, like, potential skill banking. Like, there are less broader implications dealing with that concept. If you do it that way. So, that's one way they could have done it. Otherwise, they could have also maybe, like, rewarded by retroactively looking back and seeing, like, did you open the app during the time from whence you started sleep tracking on your Go++? And if you didn't, then give some sort of reward. That was an idea I just saw by Iben Brown. It's like, there are other ways that they could have gone for the intended fix that weren't so, like, largely impacting the broader meta of the game. So it's kind of a weird decision. But either way, if they just shared they were changing this, I think there wouldn't be as much community outcry. There would still be some people that are upset. But I personally wouldn't feel disappointed with that. I actually think it's very interesting to think about the broader implications of mechanic changes and how it's going to shift the meta of the game. I'm actually excited when I see changes, even if it is a nerf or buff. I think that that's interesting, because it's more creative team building. However, the fact that there was a lack of transparency, that's what makes me disappointed with the dev team. Because I feel like it should have been communicated, because of a few reasons. One, if it's communicated, it has that intended effect better. Because now people know, oh, I don't need to get up in the middle of the night to check the app. It probably isn't going to yield more skill procs. Like, it's better to be transparent about that change. It also means that we don't necessarily, like, change, like, we now know that we know that this is a thing that we have to be considering. So, that's what I feel disappointed about. I still love the game. I still love the devs. It's like when a relative lets you down in some way. That's kind of how I feel. I think it would have been more okay if the game didn't track the kind of sicko math nerd hyper-optimized sleep. I mean, that's also true, but also any game's going to have people that take it to the extreme. And game developers know that, and they kind of play into it. The fact that they make balancing patches at all shows that they are aware of that. How about a reward if you sleep 8.5 hours, it's guaranteed 1 proc. See, that doesn't work necessarily, though, because if you are Go++, that doesn't fix the problem they were trying to fix. It is a slightly difficult issue to solve, but, like, I just don't think it is a problem. How is it different than staying up to collect 7 more leaks from your Farfetch other than in magnitude? Well, wait, yeah, I guess it's not that big if it's compared to, like, ingredient. They just don't want people waking up in the middle of the night and collecting their skill procs or collecting their ingredient procs. There's obviously going to be some broader things of, like, you don't necessarily... I don't know if they can really stop the ingredient thing. I think the only thing that they could do is to incentivize, you know, positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement. Give some sort of buff or bonus to players who don't log in during that time. It's also then easier to retroactively give that gift for Go++ users. Because as of right now, they can't, like, say, oh, once your Go++ tracking is started, you're locked out of the app. Because if they can't do that because this thing doesn't communicate with the phone. There's no communication between the Go++ and the phone until you sync the data. So the phone's not going to know their sleep tracking. Don't let them open the app. Like it does when you're sleep tracking with the phone. So that's really what they're trying to combat. And I think a better way to go about that would be to reward someone. And after Iben Brown said this in his Discord earlier today, I realized, yeah, that's actually a really good solution. Use positive reinforcement. Give some sort of reward for not opening the app during that time frame. You can't necessarily stop someone because the app doesn't know if you're sleep tracking, but make it that you're punished by not getting a reward for it. And then you could just always give that reward to people who don't use the Go++, because they track because the phone naturally locks you out from doing those sorts of exploits. So I think there are better ways they could have done this. And I do understand why they think it's an issue. I do think it's an issue as well, because it's ultimately a sleep tracker app. It's ultimately supposed to try and get you to get better sleep. If there is a game mechanic that functionally is encouraging you to get worse sleep, that mechanic should be changed, because it's contrary to the goal of the game. If the mechanic is... there are two other examples of this happening, actually. Well, one other example of this happening. That they actually changed the game mechanic, and they were open and honest about it. This was way back, right after, shortly after the Raikou research event. One of the first legendary events the first legendary event that we ever had. I remember back in those days, there was a little bit of an exploit, because if you got up between back then, for those that don't know and weren't around at that time, breakfast started at 6 a.m. It was 6 a.m. to noon, noon to 6, 6 to 6 for dinner. So what that meant was, if you got up from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., you could make 1 week's dinner at the new island, because you could move islands at 4 a.m. because that's when the new week started. So because there was a desync between when the breakfast started and when the week started, there was a 2-hour window from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. where you could make that 1 week's meal in the next week. Well, that meant that for events like the Raikou research event, myself included, I will admit I did this. You could get up at 4 a.m., transfer islands, and make your dinner from the previous week. To get 22 meals in 1 week. Yeah, it wasn't too much longer after the first legendary event that they realized there was a spike of people logging in at well, at least I assume this is what happened on the back end. They probably saw a spike of people logging in at from 4 to 6 and thought, that's a terrible time to wake up for most people. Why is this happening? Realized the mechanic. They patched it out. The Raikou research event, I believe, was the last event where that was a possibility. So I'm all for them fixing mechanics that incentivize bad sleep habits. Because I'll admit, waking up at 4 a.m. was not a good sleep habit. Sub-skill seeds rewards, I don't think they're going to do that. What Pokemon are hunting, if any? Honestly, I would like another Dream Shard farmer. I would like a good Xatu. That's one. Those are probably the two biggest ones on my list. Oh, also some sort of honey farmer. I don't have a good honey farmer, and I don't have great honey coverage on my non-ingredient specialist, so if I could get one like that, that would be kind of nice. So those kind of 3. Yeah, I did that too for the Raikou event. Hey, I'm not the only one that was up till 4, or that woke up at 4 a.m. But yeah, made sense when they fixed it. Yeah. The other major fix that I can think of that they communicate, and with all these changes, they communicated the changes with us, and that's why these ones I wasn't opposed to. Energy. For those that don't know, there used to be an exploit that sleeping all day would actually be beneficial. There wasn't there still was the cap to how long your sleep session can be. But what people would do is they'd start a sleep session and run it for the full time length, open it up, run it again, and then just eternally be sleeping. The reasoning why that was because there was a bug back then that made it so that your energy, whatever energy level you went to sleep at, your bond's energy level would continue to decrease. But the Pokemon would function like they were at the energy level of when you started sleep tracking the whole night. So you wouldn't need a healer if you just slept all day and slept all night and then just sneaky snacked your Berrymons. You could just run 5 Berrymon and then, yeah, it would turn out great. Because you didn't need to, the energy curve would just flatten off. Nowadays, that continues and energy matters more now. the great energy nerf way back when. I don't know when that was, but yeah. Multiple mechanics have been nerfed in the past, but they've never nerfed a single Pokemon. They've only nerfed entire mechanics. And this is an example of that. Praying to RNG to give me an oil farmer, easily my worst ingredient, and now the most important in the current meta. Skill change after the legendaries got released, where you can't change the team to make the legendary skill, was communicated as well. Yeah, and that one also was interesting because it came with a buff. Because that one specifically, they introduced double banking while also making it that you can't rotate teams. Like, because that was right around the time of the first anniversary when they had all the announcements they posted, like all within that 1 week. They literally like gave us news after news after news all in 1 week, every day of the anniversary. It was actually kind of cool. I wish they did that still for the anniversary. Gave us news every single day of like some sort of game-changing stuff. That was awesome. But yeah. It was communicated. And it also came with a buff at the same time, because that's when they made it so that skills mons could hold 2 triggers at once. That used to not be a thing. You used to have to collect every trigger, which made Golduck way worse before double banking was a thing, but yeah. We're doing great, my brother. Recently, I've been hearing how you talk about how collecting Houndoom actually has decent value because of his skill. Does he just have better skill chance than... Okay, the, Houndoom. Houndoom is actually, like, decent as a very... It's just because it's got a particularly powerful main skill. Like, if we are to compare it, say... Like, Berry Fighting has Help Speed M. Let's just throw this guy in. And compare him to... Well, let's go with Walrein, since it's kind of the Snowdrop standard. Usually, people consider Walrein to be the better berry specialist at Snowdrop. Which we'll make this Snowdrop. Because, let me just look at the numbers. It comes out significantly better. Although, if you are... Wait, let me double check that Yeah, I have that set to a good number. Okay. If you actually invest the main skill seeds into Houndoom, you can see that it significantly outperforms Walrein. And Walrein, on the other hand, yeah, you can put main skill seeds into him and it buffs him, but not nearly as much. Charge Strength M is a pretty powerful main skill. And like... Even up to, like, level 75, where berries scale exponentially, so, like, the skill strength, it's not increasing that much on the Houndoom, but it's... Since the Walrein's producing more berries, then theoretically this strength is more impactful. Like, the level increases the Walrein strength more comparatively. Even if it goes up to level 100, it's still only 5k difference between these two. So, like, Houndoom... It actually works all right as, like, a pseudo skill specialist that, like, cares a little bit about... It's ultimately a berry specialist. But if you put main skill seeds into it, it actually is comparable to some of the better berry options that exist in the game. So, the problem is, it's a berry specialist. You don't really want to put main skill seeds into it. But with Houndoom, I think a very good one is deserving of the seeds because it can actually do pretty well with it. So... If you catch a really good Houndoom, I think it's actually a pretty high priority for main skill seeding. Even if it only procs a few times a day, I mean, you can see that it just gains more value from those main skill trigger procs. Oh, why does it say it's... Oh! Because I still have 8:30 to 11:30. That's kind of funny. But yeah. Houndoom, better with the main skill than you... Better with skill seeding than it looks... It just gains more than other berry specialists do from main skill seeds. Because a lot of them don't care about their skill trigger at all. Like, here, let's see Raichu. If we had an equal Raichu and did the same thing. Now, the Raichu is going to be better if I give it Favorite Berry. But you can see... Oh, they're not equal. They're... Okay, level 75. Raichu does do better, but also Raichu's one of the better ones in the game. So, compared to, like, the same sort of ones, it's just... I think it gets a bad rap because most people don't look at it with considering main skill seeds. And then this comparison is just sad, but it's a good Pokemon, Well, it's fine. It's a fine Pokemon. It's not great, but if you catch a great one, it can be worth investing. That's my thoughts on Houndoom. True. Yeah, disconnecting to check skill procs is cringe. Yeah. Now that Kitty isn't trying to smother me, I can say my thing as someone who's definitely affected because I run 3 to 4 skill specialists regularly. It's definitely the transparency issue for me. Yeah, transparency. That's really the big deal, I think, for most people. And I think there's a disconnect between the community members that are like, oh, it's not really that bad of a change. Most people agree with that. I don't think I've seen anyone that say this change is harmful to the game. Because honestly, I think the change itself is alright. If they had just told us, it would have been great. It's only getting such a negative... Now, granted, there would have been a negative reaction to it if they announced it. I will say that, and that's probably why they didn't announce it, because they probably expected a negative reaction, and they probably thought they could get away with it without people noticing, because it's so easily attributed to bad RNG. It's so easy to not point it out, or to not realize that it's going on. Because you can easily attribute it to, oh, that was the bad RNG at that later in the day. I got lucky early in the day, got unlucky later in the day. Now we know why that is, but they probably thought they weren't going to get caught, and because of that, they could get away with just not being transparent. And then they never have to deal with the backlash of nerfing stuff. But because they did that, it now led to more people being more upset. Because now there was a lack of openness. Would have been slightly disappointed if they had announced implementing it, figured how I changed my playstyle, but not concerned. Happy for the buff, but kind of sad the gold duck I invested a couple months ago is worse than I thought all along. I mean, yeah, and that's really the thing is, like, people made investment decisions. Especially with Golduck, because, like, you can make a great Golduck, but, like, now we know that there's diminishing returns on better Golducks. And also, by running a Golduck, you're now sacrificing half the triggers on, like, all the other skill specialists on your teams. And not just skill specialists, on berry specialists, on ingredient specialists alike. There's also some very weird implications, like, the thing that I was thinking about, before, on ingredient specialists, the best natures were all the ingredients up, not speed down. Like, hands down, were the best natures. Preferably, probably, like, ingredients up, energy down, or ingredients up, XP gains down. Ingredients up, main skill chance down was, like, cool, kind of nice, but there was an expense there. That expense was the skill triggers. Now we know it actually would have been better to be limiting those skill triggers more, because you're not putting main skill seeds into your ingredient mons. So, like, ingredients up, skill down is theoretically the best nature for ingredient specialists. Which is just weird, because it doesn't... The downside should never really be a buff. That kind of is the case with Adamant on berry spawns. But even that, ingredients on berry mons is better than you think if you use them right. So it's not just pure upside. But that feels like pretty much pure upside unless you're not hitting the 20 per day cap. So, yeah. Why do you think the devs have released a lot of new Pokemon, new main skills that are ingredient focused recently? Mawile, Murkrow, Cutiefly, etc. Well, here's the thing. I do believe them when they say that the intention behind this was to not affect us. Because they say in the news that the intention is purely to just combat nighttime checking the app. If that's the goal, they never intended for this to impact the daytime. They never intended for us to be able to properly do research on this. So, it never should have been an issue. And there never should have been broader implications for it, because there shouldn't have been a cap to daytime triggers, or a soft cap to daytime triggers. And I do believe them with that. Maybe that's putting a little bit of extra trust in it than a lot of people are, but I do believe them when they say that. I think it was just poorly implemented, is the thing. I think it was relatively poorly implemented, and it led to a lot of this. So, I think when they introduced more Pokemon with new unique main skills, they thought this is going to be a fun aspect of these new Pokemon. We're going to encourage people to maybe put main skill seeds into them. You know, makes a little money for their pockets as well. But then, also, it makes them unique, and it makes them better, but not worse. I think that's a big thing, like, the fact that Rabombi can be better than other oil farmers if you put in the main skill seeds. That makes it another option that is a power creep if you can afford it, but is not a direct power creep, so it doesn't just feel like they're power creeping everything in the game. Because sometimes getting into a cycle of endless power creep can just feel bad. And I don't think they want that. So I don't think that this skill change at all has anything to do with, like, oh, we're introducing a bunch of skills mods. I think it's just poor implementation, and the lack of transparency is really the big problem. It really isn't the best mechanic. They really probably should have just done something else. There are a lot of ways they could have fixed the problem that don't involve a hard cap to the number of triggers per day. Especially since the number of triggers per day, like, if you ran, like, Sceptile. Sceptile is a great Pokemon, but, like, it's spread. You usually want something that looks like this, which doesn't even have any skill triggers. Which, if that's the case, then it only triggers, like, 3 times a day. So, I don't know. I really don't know. There are certain Pokemon that, like, a full team of Sceptiles wouldn't hit that 20 cap. Meanwhile, 2 Golducks on their own could hit the cap. So, it's weird. It's weird. I don't know. Yeah, I never let my mom Sneaky Snack, but I would have started with the nerf. But I'll start now since they announced it late. Here's the thing. Berry Specialists, well, if you've invested main skill seeds into your Berry Specialist, there's no reason to let them Sneaky Snack unless they have a really weak main skill. But if they're skill seeded all the way up, you're still getting a decent amount of value out of that, because the only thing you'd be wanting to do would be preventing getting like a level 1 or level 2 main skill proc, because that would be weaker than what the skill specialists get. But if you have a level 7 main skill on your Alolan Ninetales, as an example with me, that's still a really powerful skill proc, so I'd still let it collect. Sneaky Snacking, on the other hand, like on your, like, some other Pokemon might be more worthwhile, especially Energizing Cheer. Or not Energizing Cheer, the self-recovery one, whatever it is. Charge Energy, yes, that's what it is. But I don't think this is, like, I don't think it's something that you need to be worried about long-term, because I do also think that they recognize the flaws in the way they implemented it. I think they're learning from their mistakes. And I really hope their fix isn't just, like, doing an increase to the number, because an increase to the number just wouldn't fix the problem on either side. Because we'd still have the weird implications of Golduck eating all the triggers, while also not fixing the problem of Sceptile doesn't eat enough triggers. Because then you'd still be encouraged to check Sceptile throughout the night, if you run a team of mostly Sceptiles. So, like, I don't know. Their implied fix just doesn't really fix anything. And that's really another problem with it. But anyway. Hello, X-Divine Z71, or Z7I. Thank you for calling me the Pokemon Sleep Goat. Shoutouts to my main skill down Leak Doug trio. Oh gosh. Especially when you're power creeping a Kanto starter. Oh yeah, that would have been a power... I mean, they did power creep Charizard with Aggron. And they offered a side grade option. Now that wasn't... That's the thing is, I think they're trying to do more side grade options without actually direct power creeping, because they don't want to direct power creep anything. They want to offer more side grade options. So, like, instead of power creeping Blastoise, they gave us Toxtricity. It's better, but it's conditional and takes main skill seeds. Like, and it is. If you run the comparisons, Amped Form Toxtricity is way better. Well, maybe not way better, but it is better for Milk. But it's got its own drawbacks. You need to have... It's conditional Milk, and it takes main skill seeds. Meanwhile, Blastoise, you can do it. It just needs to hit level 60 and be mono. So yeah. You know, I just had a thought. Plus and Minus had a higher cost on account of needing 2 mons, but now we know it was even worse cost. I was going to invest, but now probably not. You know, that's true, but also, once again, we don't know how they're going to fix it. If they fix it in a good way... I wouldn't say hold off your... Well, hold off your investments for at least a week. But don't set in your brain that you can't use these things forever because it's going to be the way it is right now. Because it isn't. They're changing it. They told us they're changing next Monday. Let us figure it out. See if it's just a flat number again. If it is still a flat number, then that has some weird implications. It makes plus and minus worse. It makes the ingredient draw Pokemon worse. It makes Golduck significantly worse, because Golduck's probably going to be the easiest way to push those upper numbers. It makes Umbreon just a shadow beast that devours all your skill procs and doesn't give much in return. So, I'd be interested to know if I could go back and, like, test things. Like, if I could just, like, rerun simulations. Now, if I knew all the mechanics of the game, I would love to simulate to see if you had a particularly skill-focused team and you had an Umbreon on it, because Umbreon procs a ton, but it doesn't really give you much strength in return, versus 5 team slots, but the 5th slot is a good Umbreon that eats all the procs, versus 4 team slots that are dedicated to stuff that actually just produces strength, like Ampharos or something. Which one would produce more strength? I don't know. It might be the case that because Umbreon eats all the procs, that you might actually yield more strength with less team members, which is just so contradictory to all concepts of team building in this game. It might be. I'm not saying it is, because we haven't run calculations on that. We can't, because we don't have any tools that have accounted for this hidden mechanic. So we don't know. We really don't know, but I just hope they tell us how they change it. They're not gonna. There's gonna need to be some sort of studies done on it. But now that we're aware of it, if they were going to tell us how they were going to change it, they would have, A, told us how it works to begin with, because they didn't in the news. If you wanted to figure out that it was 20 procs to then 50% productivity, you had to rely upon community-gathered data and find some dude's report on it, which is also like, this is our best guess at this. It might not be the exact right numbers. But then also, they didn't tell us how it works right now. They just told us, hey, this exists. It's got problems. We're fixing it. If they wanted to actually be transparent about how they're going to fix it, they would have told us the number before and what they're changing it to in this maintenance update. Like, they would have given us that in the news. They didn't do that. So my guess is they're just going to change it, and we as the community are going to have to go through and gather the data to then figure out how the new mechanic works and to see if it's the same thing, just with a greater count, or if they changed it to be more based off of your sped time hours. They're going to change it. We just don't know how. And I hope they consider, now that they realize that basing it on the number of procs per day has had a broader implication of impacting players during the day, I think they're going to take that into account moving forward and design a different system. That's the hope, at least. That doesn't just, like I said, if they just increase the number from 20 to 30, it's still going to be problematic, because it's either not going to solve the issue at all, or it's going to continue. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's just a weird mechanic. I also learned Japanese. Yeah, well, or Google Translate. That's what I did. Problem I have with this whole situation is the trust I lost in the devs. I will forever think there might be something hidden to hurt the player. I think that's a lot of people's problems. Here's the thing. I think it's so unprecedented, because I think the only reason why they would ever implement a nerf, and why they did implement a nerf, is because there's some sort of game mechanic that actively encourages bad sleep habits. I don't think they will ever nerf a mechanic or a Pokemon unless it does that specifically. So unless you can think, like, I don't think there's going to be any shadow nerfs, or I don't think there are any existing shadow nerfs to any mechanic that isn't somehow, that isn't in some way, shape, or form encouraging a poor sleep habit. Because that really is the problem they were looking to resolve, was that people were staying up to check the app in the middle of the night. Like, that, or not necessarily staying up, or getting up to check the app in the middle of the night when they should have been sleeping. So, really, if you can't trace it back to somehow incentivizing poor sleep habits, I don't think they're ever going to nerf anything. Nerfs in this game have been very, very rare. The only examples that I can think of are, I guess, skill banking and like swapping the team. I guess that one doesn't actually impact, but that was more of a mechanics change outright because they also add the double triggers in that update. So I wouldn't really count that much. But the bigger things like the energy nerf way back when, and the nerf to breakfasts, and the nerf to sleeping all day and all night. Like all those things are encouraging bad sleep habits or being dishonest with the sleep tracker, because that also doesn't encourage good sleep habits if it's encouraging you to manipulate your sleep data. Because that sleeping all day, that nobody does that, so they're not gonna count that as legit. Putting your Pokemon to sleep results in a blue flashbang, so maybe they should fix that. Dark mode! Give us dark mode! Give us dark mode in the app, I swear. Coming from other gaming communities, I came in with the presumption of modified RNG to encourage healthy player behavior that devs don't disclose. So the biggest gremlins you know don't exploit. I came in with the presumption of... Oh, yeah. So I was much less upset about these hidden mechanics and a little surprised at the backlash. I don't think the backlash should be surprising, because, once again, it's a hidden nerf. People just want transparency. That's what I want. That's what I wanted to see. I'm not upset at the change. No, I think very few people... I mean, there are people that are upset at the change itself, but I think if they had told us about it, that this is what they're doing and this is why they're doing it, we all would have been like, that's kind of a stupid way to fix that problem, but okay. The fact that it's hidden, that's where there's so much backlash. Can we explore newer power pairings for certain dishes, even the weaker ones for off weeks? Sure. I like that. Change in topic. We don't need to talk about Skillsgate all day long. Oh, whoops. That's a Discord. Wrong input. Okay. Power pairs. Let me look at some of the top meals right now. Sometimes I do sleep all day. I mean, they wanted to fix that problem. Why don't they still look? This mechanic exists. Sleep well. Because they don't want to encourage it. And also, yeah, that's a whole different thing. The pain does frequently wake me up, so I do check the... Yeah, fair enough. I hope your pain feels better. Okay, recipes, dishes. I mean, some of them should be kind of obvious. I always like to look at, like, the ideas of, like, the current maxes. So, obviously the best... I mean, some of these feel obvious because they've been kind of shoving it in our face. Like, obviously, Rabombi is going to be great for Honey Gather. Obviously, Crustle is going to be great for whichever one it is that has, like, the Gratin. With only, like, one other partner or two other partners. But power pairs for the more, mid ones, I'm kind of interested to know. Where's the limiter for... Okay, ingredient count. Didn't they used to have a way to, like, limit it so that it wasn't... Whoa. What the... They changed this. They changed all of, the meal settings. You used to be able to, like, limit based on how many fit in the pot. But, oh well. So up to 81 is what we have. So from corn keema on down is what we have access to. Cacao... I mean... Eggs and honey. Chansey has that. Milk and cacao. Blastoise has that. So there's something there, maybe. Do you have any advice for staying motivated for a hunt? I have no healer and have been on Lapis for 2 months. I've only seen Ralts 4 times and have snoozing sleep roughly 3 to 4 times a week. I would say make sure you're not hunting just one thing. Don't go to an island just off of one hunt. Sure, it may be your highest priority hunt, but if it's the only thing you're hunting, it's going to make those days that you don't see it really suck. So have multiple things. Choose your island based off of there are multiple things there that you want to hunt, not just one. That'd be the biggest thing that I'd advise. Because otherwise, like, you're not always going to see it. And that's just a matter of fact. Rabombi and the Rabombis for Honey Gather. Yeah. If they really want to encourage better sleep habits, they need to make the ++ do something to prevent checking while sleeping. So you need to click an extra button. Like I said, I think there's ways they could do it without it, and I don't know if the Go++ has the technology to do that. And it's not like that's something they can simply change. I guess they could make it that you have to open up your phone, then sync to the ++ to tell it you're going to bed, and then, like, then you can turn it off later on. That would be, because then it's like, okay, you're tracking on the ++, you're good to go. But either way, that's still kind of weird. I don't know. Sorry, I'm asleep. I think there are ways they could do it. Like I said, maybe positive reinforcement. Like I said, reward you for retroactively not checking it during that time frame. There are ways they could do it. Do you have any videos where you go through all the Pokemon in your box? My first daily journal videos do go through, like, if you go through, like, the first couple ones, I go through a lot of the Pokemon in my box that I had at that point. Otherwise, just kind of as time has gone on, I've all of it's been documented in the daily journal videos. I will say that ever since then. But I don't have any videos about, like, here's all the Pokemon in my box, here's why I kept them. I've thought about doing it sometime, but I don't know. I just haven't gotten around to it. Consider Palmot. Wiggly is also good if you have 0 healers. Yeah, that's also a thing. Don't lock yourself into just Ralts. Every healer does the job well. Yes, Ralts is the best. Gardevoir is the best. But it's still not... You don't need the best. That's something you'll learn very quickly in this game. True, a box showcase vid. Yeah, I could do that sometime. Crustle and Meowscarada. Yeah, Crustle and Meowscarada for... Which one? Groton? Yeah. Because then potatoes and milk. That would work. More mid-tier meals. I mean, some of these, like, ones they just released with the avocados, I mean... Let's see. I don't think there's anything like soybean and oil. That's a weird combo. Calm Mind fruit salad. Apples. I feel like there's something that makes apples and corn. Gardevoir makes apples and corn. And then Rabombi makes honey and corn. And Pinsir makes honey and apples. That's the thing. So you could... And... Yeah, so you could theoretically have like an AAC Rabombi and then an ABB Pinsir, and hopefully that would do it. Actually, that's an interesting one. Let me build a team around that here real quick. Pinsir. But also these are... Pinsir's a 16 Pitmon, so I'm never going to encourage a hunt for it. I'll be completely honest there. But it's interesting in theory to talk about. How much strength does this actually output? Calm Mind fruit salad. Where is it? If it was level 65. Showcase back. Oh. It's awesome to see. It would also be a nice video for yourself to see how much you've grown over the year. Yeah, that's true. I've got some pretty insane catches. Rabombi. AAC. Let's see. How many of the ingredients are we getting? We are making the meal after we add a healer to this. Because, yeah, a healer will definitely push that over the edge. Although this is also a really good Pinsir, I'm realizing. That was maybe a bit much of an ask. Either way, still enough. So... Yeah, if we add just like a Palmot to this, max main skill level, I bet I don't even have to put any sub skills on it. Yeah, that's able to make it, and that gets with 85 or 75% area bonus. So we were at, let's see, we're at green grass, 85% area bonus, and 1.5 million just off the meal. They're each making about. It's not as much as I would hope for, to be honest. So maybe this isn't the best combo. But you know what? For off weeks, not a bad power pair. Because then you can do something like Swalot, Swalot. Just 2 shard farmers. And then look at that. You're getting Master 16 at Greengrass. Without like any effort in running 2 shard farmers. Okay. You think duos are worth for lower ingredient meals at this point? Or what are we putting a duo for? Honestly, okay. I think there is a point, but I haven't done a full analysis on it. I would have to like actually rethink through things. Obviously, there are certain points where it's just not worth it for the duo, but like certain duos, like if I was to swap this out for if I was to swap this for Dragonite Charizard, that's like the one that I don't know if it's ever going to get power crept, to be honest. Like, yes, it's power crept, but it's not. Because it's such good roll compression. Such good roll compression that even if you're making a weaker meal, it is still good. And I will stand by that statement. And maybe one day it'll be power crept, but I just don't know. I genuinely don't know if it ever really can be. Because this is just, like, such an insane combo when you really get down to it. Especially now that you can make it without a pot expander. For corn, keema, curry. This is the meal. Because take a look at this. They're basically making the meal consistently. I guess it's a little bit behind on the corn, but you know what? If I just had a better healer, you know, like an actually invested healer, it could probably get that Dragonite. Well, is the Dragonite's energy curve? It's not quite maxed. Let's see. If we had a decent healer. Okay, if we had a help bonus healer on this team, then bam. You clear it, and look at that. They're each contributing about 150 to about 150,000 strength, each one. And Berry Specialists will hardly ever surpass this amount. So, I don't know. I think this is still worth it. Yeah. I should hunt Gulpin, but just M20, Greengrass, Cyan, and Top. Well, can always go back there. If there's a good hunt there that you need, there's still reasons to go back there. Just make sure it's not the only thing you're hunting. Okay, I believe you said A9 isn't accurately evaluated. Why do you think A9 is so great? And should it be run as a generalist all the time / every island? I mean, it depends on the Ninetales you have. I do it quite a bit. But my Alolan Ninetales is also the Alolan Ninetales to end all Alolan Ninetales. Or the one Ninetales to rule them all. That is my Alolan Ninetales. So, like, genuinely, it's worth main skill seeding in my mind on mine, but it's not going to be everyone's experience with the species. It's evaluated fairly on Rain on X when you have it in team analysis. It's just unfairly analyzed in production comparison and in the Pokédex feature. In those two features, it is unfairly treated well because it's including... It assumes that all of its main skill procs hit itself, which is not realistic to reality. I mean, if you look here, it's only a quarter of it's hitting it here. If I add one more Pokemon in, then you can see that not nearly as much strength is coming from that Alolan Ninetales skill proc as what would otherwise be estimated when you have this many weaker Pokemon here. But the flexibility of the skill is still nice, and it's very strong even without the skill. So it's still a good Pokemon that I'd recommend hunting to most if you need what it can offer, which is an Ice-type Berry Specialist. Can it work as a Generalist? Just as is the case with every other Berry Specialist in the game. It can work as a Generalist if you get phenomenal sub-skills. Okay, maybe not every other Berry Specialist. Most other Berry Specialists in the game. It can work as a Generalist if you get phenomenal sub-skills. But you need to get the truly phenomenal... Like, it needs to be, like... A skill specialist can be here and still work as a generalist. Like a charge strength M, charge strength S skill specialist can be here and work as a generalist. A berry specialist needs to be, like, here to work as a generalist. They need to be a step above. But anyway. Maybe I shouldn't be dismissing things that aren't AAA. I've always been talking about that. A lot of people, the Mono meta. I think the Mono has its strengths. Don't get me wrong. Mono Mons are good. I will never say Mono Mons are bad. The mono meta is mathematically the best and most optimal way to play if you manage the game enough. But I don't think everyone manages the game enough, and I think that mixed lists have a viability. And I will always stand by certain mixed list viability. Which is a very different standpoint than trying to say like mixed lists are better, because I don't think they're better. I think they each have their own slot. They each have their own position. Yeah, I use AAC T-Tar, ABA Dragonite for this. Yeah, I kind of work with AAC T-Tar as well. But ABA Charizard technically does the job better because it's closer to the right ratios, but T-Tar is just so insane that, sure, you're overproducing the sausage, I think it is. No, you're overproducing the ginger, I think. But it still can cover both. You're just making a lot more of one than you need. Healer and Vaporeon, 3 Shard Farmers is the dream. I mean, if you're really trying to make some kind of meal, honestly, at that point, I think I'd have to do some more testing and some more experimenting, but I honestly think that random ingredients is never going to yield you as much shard or as much strength as just a single matching berry specialist or like even a generalist. But like I said, that's really difficult to truly say. You can kind of test it with Rolly's lab. In fact, now that's something that I'm interested to know. Let's see. I'm intrigued to know this now. I apparently have made way too many teams, and what was this team? What was I doing here? I have no clue what. Sometimes I find old experiments that I did and like what was this? Okay. Let's see. Vaporeon. T-Tar is crazy good. It is. It's insane. Max level main skill. We're just gonna do like skill trigger S, help speed S, or M. We'll do a really good Vaporeon. Skill up, EXP down. Let's see. Save that. We're gonna put down here a healer of some sort. We'll go with Gardevoir. We'll do this, I guess. And then, let's see. Don't like the idea that if the dish is no longer the strongest it is, then use this. I find that far from the truth. I agree. I am 20 Amber Canyon with Zing Zap Cola. A meal that isn't even on most veteran players' minds right now. And that's what I use to M20 Amber Canyon. So remember that. Bee farmers are great. Yeah, bee farmers are really great. ABB are also good. And honestly, most of your good ingredients but investments are probably going to be ABB if you're willing to settle for ABB instead of all AAA. Sorry if that's loud. I should have muted when I'm drinking. Oh well. Okay, what was the... Oh, shard farmers. I'm not even going to put them in because they're not going to produce much. I don't... Oh, it wouldn't matter for the case of Sceptile. Okay. Swalot. I guess this... It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to say it's level 60 and just call it a day. Because that's not what matters here for strength. The question... Is it better to have the random ingredients, or is it better to have a generalist? Overview says 9.98 million strength with the Vaporeon. If we change this Vaporeon to a Sudowoodo, does that exceed 1 million? Let's see. I didn't even give this guy any sub-skills. Let's see if I do that. Yeah, it's basically the same with just 2 sub-skills. It would... Yeah, I think that the Generalist is just going to do better than trying to get a bunch of random ingredients. because a Sudowoodo is not even the best skills generalist there is. So, especially if you were to have a favored berry specialist here, there's a lot better things. You don't need to cook. Myth number one that a lot of Pokemon Sleep players believe is that you need to cook. You don't need to cook, people. Yes, cooking's fun, and a lot of people think it's the primary source of strength, but there are ways to gain strength that don't involve cooking. It's not a mandatory aspect of the game. Yes, it is going to yield you the strongest teams. There's no doubt about that. But it isn't a necessity, especially in off weeks when the goals may be more to just do like lower drowsy power hunts or dream shard farming with Swallots. Like, if you can just get a decent amount of strength, enough that you get 8 spawns, then you're doing well. And you don't need to cook to reach those goals. I was asked when I was building the berry bomb, like, how are you planning on cooking all week long? And I was like, that's the neat part. I'm not. If I'm going to cook it all, I'm just going to feed them one ingredient and then just get that energy from it. But you don't need to. And yeah, cooking is strong, yes, but it's not a necessity. This game is very interesting in that there's pretty much no way to prevent yourself from gaining any strength. Like, you're going... And almost every week, as long as you're playing the game and, like, having fun with it, you're probably going to get more strength the next week than the week prior, unless you're doing, like... Unless there's an event, or you're doing strategies of, like, strength carryover. Like, generally speaking, your strength productivity is going to increase over time. No matter what you are doing in this game. There's pretty much nothing that is going to set you... It'll be up and down, but, like, it's going to trend up. And always will trend up. Because area bonus increases, your Pokemon level increases, your meal level increases, the skills levels on your Pokemon are probably increasing as well. Like, there are so many... Your diversity in your box increases, which puts more meal options on the table to build around. There's pretty much... The only way that there is to set yourself back in this game is by transferring Pokemon. If you're not transferring Pokemon, you will never make a mistake. Or you'll never make a mistake that will set you back. You'll only make mistakes that don't... That make your growth on a lower slant. It'll only delay progression. It'll never set you back. That's my genuine thoughts about certain things, but yeah. So yeah, the Dream Team for Dream Shard farming, if you want strength on the last slot, Vaporeon's not the route. I'm not a fan of random ingredients, I'll be completely honest. Although theoretically you are leveling the meal. Like, that's the biggest trade-off by not using meals in off weeks. But yeah, Alolan Ninetales. I'm very happy with mine. That was talked about early. So yeah. I just heard that they recently did a thing in Rain on X about your Pokemon box. That you can see, like, your top Pokemon, I think, was a thing. Let me see if I can... Is it the Pokebox stats? Apparently, this is my distribution by Pokemon type, although I don't know how accurate my Pokemon box in Rain on X actually is, I believe. Oh, berry ranking. You can see your top berry specialist for each one. Oh, that's neat. Wow, would you look at that? Sceptile. Oh, gosh. Let's see, at the current max, if I was to level up every single one... This is kind of neat. Also, why is it showing sparkles? I don't know what the purpose of the sparkles are around certain Pokemon here. It's not shiny. These are not shiny Pokemon. What does this mean? Also, Steelberry is hilarious! Weird, lol. That page is awesome. Yeah, so these are the ones that are saved in my box, but this is... Guys, this is my best Steelberry specialist if I was to level it up. That is just awesome. What if I final evolution? Okay, then it's the Steelix. That makes more sense. But I have a Golem. Oh, because it's assuming that I don't leave the Onyx as an Onyx. Yeah, this is a fully upgraded. Yeah, but then it makes Golem my best Rockberry specialist. Okay, that is just comical. All hail Aaron. That just shows you how much I've hunted Onyx Steelix. The fact that that is my best Steelberries Pokemon. Same thing with Clefairy. I have Togekiss. You can change the level in full. Yeah, I have level set to max right now. So that's... If I had it set to default, then... If I had it set to just not... It still is the best berry Pokemon I apparently have. At level 14, Aaron, with health bonus and a speed up nature. Is that a paid feature? I don't know. I haven't tried it on free to play or free to use Random X. What is it? Maybe this can reveal to me my ingredient gaps. Let's see. If I was to do... Okay, why are some of them, like, sparkling? Is it because they're mono? I think it's because they're mono. Oh, that makes sense. Mono milk, mono apple. It's showing that they're mono farmers. That's it. Okay, it is a paid feature. Sorry for promoting this when it's paid. It's just... You figured it out like a moment... You figured it out before I did, but... Like, relatively to when you noticed it. But, delay. Okay, fully upgraded Pokemon. Let's see. This is my, my best honey farmers of Vikavolt. I was telling you I was lacking honey. Yeah, I don't have a good long-term honey solution, so that makes total sense. My best milk farmer apparently is Meowscarada. That's also assuming... Because actually I have some Toxtricities that can do better than my Meows. But... I have this Mono Sausage Aggron that I've never invested. What's funny is my Tyranitar makes a lot of sausage, so I don't know if I'm ever going to pump up the Aggron, to be honest. My Skeletor for apples. What is distribution? What? I don't know what this tab is. Is it showing me what I have that's in, like, top... What percentile of my box? I don't know what this feature is. Top 20%? Oh, okay. Oh, so that's at different levels. What's my best Pokemon in the box? It thinks it's my Cresselia. Cresselia is another one that overrates. That Ranox overrates. Cresselia, Alolan Ninetales, and Sceptile. All three of them are kind of ones that it overrates a little. Best Ginger is also Meow? Wait, what? I didn't even notice that. Was it? Fully upgraded Ginger? Yeah, it was a Meowscarada. I did not notice that. I mean, I don't have a great Ginger farmer. I just get a lot of Ginger from my berry specialists, my Raichu specifically, so... Or I just overstock it for the next week, because... There aren't any meals that take a particularly large amount of Ginger, so I'm not really bothered by it. So, yeah. I do have an AAB Tyranitar, or not Tyranitar, Charizard that I could get to level 60, and do intend to get to level 60 at some point. I just haven't yet. Crest also gives a lot of Ginger, even with ingredient down. That is true. That's another one. I have Crest with its ABA, and makes a shocking amount of Ginger, despite not having a monolist, and despite being a skill specialist. It makes more Ginger than you'd think. So, I have a lot of passive Ginger productivity, so I just haven't felt a need for a Ginger farmer on my account. Meanwhile, I can actually kind of feel Honey. Honey's been not necessarily a bottleneck, but it's something that I would like. I do have this Cacao farmer, this Clodsire, but I don't know. The more I go into the game, the more I want to have helping bonus on all of my Pokemon that I intend to run during weeks. So I'm kind of hoping for helping bonus on my newer ingredient farmers. You can see this Quaquaval, it's got helping bonus. This Gengar has helping bonus. It's actually... Wait, when... I have this Gengar? When did I catch this Ghastly? Because I do not recall that guy being in my box. That guy is insane. He's got helping bonus? I mean, I haven't needed herbs, so... Oh, whoops, my volume's up. Discovering things that I forgot I caught. Let's see. That's ABB. Did I already make it a Gengar? Like, I am so confused by this, because I don't see him anywhere. Is it this shiny one? No, it's not the shiny one. Oh, yeah. I don't think I actually have this Gengar. I don't know why. Did I have it at some point and save it? Like, there's no way I would have transferred that. That's definitely not actually in my box. See, that's why I said my box probably isn't 100% accurate, because there's no way I ever caught that. Unless someone can find a video where I caught it, and I'm just going crazy and I transferred it at some point for some reason. Which I don't know why I would have. Theoretical Gengar is the best Gengar. Is it a sleeper mon? I don't know. I might have caught it on the sleepers. I just don't know when I would have caught a Ghastly on the sleepers. Because it's not sleepers legal. So, if I ever caught one and I just threw it in for comparison, it might have been like somebody maybe asked me a question and I threw it in there for like a comparison's sake. Yeah, I don't have any Ghastlies on the sleepers. Well, let me go into my Pokemon box and fix that, because that should not be there. Ghost type. I definitely did not. I was like, man, that is a good Gengar. Why have I not invested? That's why, because I don't have it. I do have that guy. Yeah, I never caught this. It says I caught it in March 24th of 2025. I would have been recording by that point. Wait a minute. Should I go back and find my video from March 24th of 2025 and see if I actually caught that and was stupid and threw it away? Or do I just not want to know? It might be better to just not know, you know, sometimes. Because now I'm like, did I catch this? Was I an idiot? Okay, let's see. Daily journal series. I also need to go through and fix my playlists. I know that, like, these sometimes get out of order. Okay, we're looking for... It was logged to my box on March 24th of 2025. I need to look at the date of these videos. I started doing videos on September 17th, 2024. Okay, what was number 200? I actually have an Oil Cutie Fly that has helping bonus versus an Oil Cutie Fly that does a little better. I would take the help bonus one every time. If they're close enough, then yeah, I would take that all the time. It depends on what the actual numbers are, but yeah. Okay, that's May. March would have been before Darkrai versus Cresselia. Actually, it would have been around the time of Darkrai versus Cresselia. I think. Because that would have been right around that point? April 2nd. Okay. April 1st. Oh, wait a minute. Was that right over my break? Because I took a break right before Cresselia versus Darkrai. March 22nd. It was... We'll never know if I caught it. Did that Ghastly ever exist? It's literally right between when I stopped making videos, because I took like a week-long break. March 22nd, 2025. I apparently threw it in... I was taking a break from YouTube during that time. Oh, I don't have a perfect record of everything. I don't. So, Rip. We'll never know if that Ghastly ever existed. I'm surprised we're only getting a bonus Drowsy Power event for Pokemon Day. We're getting more. I can almost guarantee we're getting more. They wouldn't have talked about it if they weren't giving us more. The thing is, that's all they advertise in advance, and they did the same thing last year. If we go back to last year's news, like I think it's bonus Drowsy Power or something like that. But then they ended up giving us gifts, and they made an announcement as well. Let's see. So this was triple type week, so I can go back further than that. Let's go back to like the 38. It's a 68 versus 72. Okay, yeah. 68 helping bonus. I'd still probably go for that. I like helping bonus a lot. Okay, this is Super Skills Week, so I'd be a little bit after this. Yeah, see? This was last year. Although it was on February 26th. Isn't the 27th the anniversary? That's weird. Oh yeah, February 27th is Pokemon Day. So why did they release it on 26th? I don't know. But this is all it was last year. And yeah, it was the same thing. So it's exactly the same as what they did last year. And then after the actual news went live, then they gave us these commemorative gifts. 10 Pokebiscuits and 1,000 diamonds. Just by logging in, they gave us bundles, Pokemon Day bundles, and they told us about Cresselia versus Darkrai. So, we're probably getting more stuff. It's just this year, we're at that early stage where they're just announcing, hey, there's an event happening. Just so you know, tune in for the live stream. And the fact that they teased it to us and told us about Pokemon Day, that clues me in that they do intend to give something for it. Because if there wasn't going to be anything for it, if there wasn't going to be any news, if there wasn't going to be anything crazy, they wouldn't have been advertising it because they kind of probably want that to fly under the radar. Anyway, it is time for me to put my Pokemon to sleep. Don't tell the devs. Although this is being on the internet, so realistically, they could know. But whatever. Yes, devs, I manipulate my sleep data. Well, by telling it I'm sleeping before I actually go to sleep. Okay. If I got my account banned, my goodness, that would be so shocking. I know that's not going to happen, though. Plenty of people do that. Okay, I'm also putting the sleepers to sleep right now. That's what I'm doing right here. I just got on, lol. Hey there, Derek, right? Glad to have you here. It's always a good time here. Always a good time here talking about Pokemon sleep. Being one of the... I'm probably one of, if not the only person that does live streams for Pokemon sleep relatively consistent. I guess it's not super consistent. But still, there aren't too many people who've made... I know Ivan Brown's done a few live streams around it. But there's not much... Pokemon Sleep live streams are more like just chilling and talking about it. Not so much like an active live stream. But I still like talking with y'all. Thank you all to the community. I really do love this community. And I'm glad to have all of it. It's an awesome opportunity to be able to talk about the game with other people who have a similar passion to it. Digging through the charts on Randanax, it's saying that Blaziken is actually the strongest raw berry strength mon. I bet you don't have any energy settings enabled. Because it's showing it as the best raw berry strength Pokemon. Because it's assuming that you're on the standard energy curve. I've seen that plenty of times. Blaziken shows up a lot better than it actually is when you apply a healer. Probably not. Let's see. Live streams are awesome. Just a chill way to talk about the game. Thank you for that. Anytime, anytime. I know that there's not a whole lot of content out there. That's the whole reason why I started the channel, honestly. I I loved Pokemon Sleep content, and then more and more less and less Pokemon Sleep content creators were out there, and less people were like talking about the deep dives of game mechanics and stuff. That's really what I was living for. I wanted more of that content, and nobody else was making it, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna make videos. I'm just gonna do it. So that's why I started the channel. Because there were some content creators out there. I mean, Bro Vinny, huge shout out to him. I do like his channel. I like the sleep content he makes, although nowadays it's sparse. And oftentimes it's it's usually posted very, very slowly for most of like the guides and stuff. But I love Ivan Brown, his channel. It's great. I love the man as well. He's a cool guy. I've met him in person, if you didn't know. There was a video that I posted a while back of when I saw him in person, and we reviewed our sleep session together. But yeah, I love all the Pokemon Sleep content creators, because it's just such a niche. It's such a niche, and I want to see more of it. Okay. We were talking about berry specialists, and like why it came up that way. Snorlax, that's what I was going to do. All berries. Yeah, so it shows Sceptile number 1, interestingly. But that's also because Sceptile is insane. Subskill, berry finding, yes. Thank you for the vids. Anytime, anytime. Like I said, I love doing it. Thank you all for watching the videos. I couldn't do it without people watching the vids. You guys watching are just as important as me making. Because, yeah, I can make the vids, but it'd be just for my own enjoyment. Like, what will be the point? I guess I could talk about it and document it for my own purposes, but without people watching it, there's no real reason for it. So, thank you all for tuning in. You make the channel just as much of a possibility as I do. And I mean that. With my heart. Okay, where did they move energy to? It's this. Yeah, if we say always max energy, then Blaziken doesn't do as well. It's still a decent Pokemon. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's just boring. Good evening, Via. Good evening, Sleeper C. Glad to have you here. It is a typical day. We're just talking about Blaziken right now. Let's see. That's with my Cresselia as a healer, though, which is weaker than most traditional healers. Let's put on my Pawmot, because it's more of a standard healer. Yeah, it does favor Blaziken a little bit more, but like it's still weaker than like the Meganium, your Typhlosion, your Steelix, your Raichu, and most importantly, your Sceptile. I don't know what they were thinking with Sceptile, let's be honest. What were they thinking with Sceptile? It is so ridiculously overtuned. It's just crazy. Although this is funny. It shows Cresselia and Darkrai as the two. Looking at these comparisons in Rain on X is always crazy. But also a lot of it's because of like the game over favoring certain Pokemon. Like Cresselia. Rain on X likes Cresselia way too much because it assumes that it's on a team full of different psychic type Pokemon, which is honestly a very high overestimation of Cresselia's strength. Darkrai, it doesn't account for the energy reduction on the rest of the team. The Sceptile and Mimikyu, it assumes that they're all proccing on themselves, which is never really fully, or it's just giving ghosts or all grass berries, which when you have Favorite Berry enabled is like a little bit generous. So like these guys are a little bit fair, and Ninetales always assumes it procs on itself, which is also unfair. Typhlosion's probably the first one on here that's actually evaluated fairly and not overestimated in any way. Thanks for the stream, or maybe not. I mean, I'm still streaming right now. Hey, 91M10. Glad to have you here as well. And to the other 29 viewers, I see I got 30 viewers right now. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a great night. Don't know how much longer I'll last, but I do intend to keep streaming as long as we have stuff to talk about and as long as I'm not, like, dying of sleep deprivation, because I am pretty tired. I will admit that. I was up pretty late last night to make that video for you guys talking about the news, because I had a lot to think about with it, genuinely. So, and I had to be up early this morning. Mondays and Fridays I have to be up earlier than other days of the week, so yeah, those days I'm usually pretty tired on. Fridays especially though. Normally right now I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons, but it got canceled. Guess now the Pokemon Day is on the horizon. Do you have predictions for the year? I do. In fact, it is funny that you say that because I literally posted to the subreddit the other day my theory as to what Pokemon I think they're going to add. Let me just pull it up here. Let's see. It was a post that I made. Basically, I do think that it will be the Aura Trio. Am I getting Fire Red, Leaf Green? Probably. I haven't quite decided yet, but probably. No, my theory is the Aura Trio, and I list out in this post a bunch of reasons why. A couple assumptions that I make that is why. Basically, I assume they're probably going to want to introduce a dragon, poison, or bug type legendary so that we have some sort of legendary coverage for Amber Canyon. I think that's a reasonable assumption, because every other island has a legendary that has favorite berry there. Yes, other legendaries can spawn at the other islands. Like, I think Entei can spawn at Amber Canyon. Cresselia can spawn at Snowdrop. So, yeah. And Suicune can spawn at Lapis. Those are some exceptions. But, generally speaking, it seems like they want to have at least one legendary right now at every island for favorite berry. So, we probably are going to get a dragon, bug, or poison... No, wait, poison? Yes, poison type legendary. Well, there's a ton of dragons. There are a ton of dragon legendary options. But also the after I talk about this theory, I might go to bed because honestly, I'm starting to get a lot of brain farts. So what was the... Oh yeah, so there are a lot of dragons out there, but I assume that they probably don't want, like, paired, or, like example, a lot of the dragon legendaries are, like, Palkia, Dialga, and Giratina. Those three are in a trio. I don't think they're going to make any of those dragon, because it's all their secondary typing, and, like, if they're going to make one of them dragon, then make the other two off their secondary typings, that just feels wrong. But if they're going to make them all dragons, that just also feels wrong. Because then, like, how are they going to make them unique? And why? They don't want to give that many legendaries to Amber Canyon. So I'd expect them to make that trio Ghost, Steel, and Water. So then that limits our options a bit more if we don't want anything where it's like the overlapping secondary typing that restricts us from the Gen 9 legendary box arts, that restricts us from the Creation Trio as the options, that restricts us from a lot of different Pokemon. I also assume that they don't want to duplicate any legendary typings yet because there haven't been any other duplicates yet, and I think they'd want to try and get as much coverage as they can before creating any duplicates. So, like, the Weather Trio, Groudon, Kyogre, Rayquaza, has a dragon type in there that could very reasonably be a dragon type, because it's not, like, doubling the typing. But Kyogre's there as well, and they'd have water. So, like, that conflicts with Suicune. We'd have two water types. They could do that. There'd be nothing wrong with it, but it'd be a little bit weird when we don't have so many legendaries yet in the game. So, my assumption then boils down to, well, we don't have a flying type legendary, and Yveltal can be flying type, and I think it would be a nice way to make it unique from dark type, especially since, other than the forces of nature, there aren't really that many flying type legendaries. Well, and the legendary birds. But the birds have the same problems as what I was talking about with the dragons. They're all flying type. And same thing with the forces of nature, but they have Tornadus, so he definitely would be flying. But yeah. The Regis... Some people are saying the Regis, and I do see that comment there. Regis could be good, but it has a problem of... I really do think they want to... I really do think they're going to give us legendary to cover Amber Canyon. And the only way that happens with the Regis is if they give us Regieleki and Regidrago, which would be 5 legendaries. That'd be a lot. And also, Regieleki dupes the typing with Raikou. So that's why I don't think they're going to do that. But maybe they could. I could be wrong. And there are a lot of assumptions made on my half here. Could do the Jin for Flying Legend. Yeah, there are ways that they could get a Flying type Legend as well. But if they want to do it all within this year, I think the best way is they'd have to get, like I said, Dragon, Poison, or Bug type. Bug type feels very unlikely because that'd be the Ultra Beasts. Which, if they're doing Ultra Beast stuff, that's really weird because there aren't really... Oh, or Genesect. Genesect is also possible. And that could be an option. But I assume they probably want some sort of like trio or duo. Because I think they want more going on, whether like a versus event. Give us more legendaries. They gave us 3 legendaries in the first year and 2 in the second. To bump that down to just 1 feels wrong. So, yeah. The reason why I think the Aura Trio, specifically, Zygarde, Yveltal, and Xerneas, is because after you take into account all those parameters that I established, the only, like, trios that fit that realm, the only, like, things that could meet that expectations, or those expectations, are the Aura Trio, Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde. Zygarde as the Dragon type to cover Amber Canyon. And then the other 2 Flying for Yveltal and Fairy for Xerneas. Or, if you consider them to be a trio, Zacian, Zamazenta, and Eternatus being Fairy, Fighting, and Poison or Dragon. Eternatus could be either. Eternatus, though, goes into a whole Eternamax thing and Dynamax, which, like, how is it going to fit on your tiny phone screen next to Snorlax when it's supposed to be the biggest Pokemon? Like, there's some broader implications with putting Eternatus into the game, which is why I don't think that's the route they're going to go. So, following the rules that I based this hypothesis off of, I think it's going to be the Aura Trio. I don't think it's going to be the Aura Trio. I think the Aura Trio is the most likely possibility. I think other possibilities exist, though. And I can see why people think the Regis. I can see why people think the Weather Trio. I can see why people think Mew and Mewtwo. Especially with it being like the 30th anniversary, maybe going back to something that's Gen 1. I can see a lot of reasons for other things, but I think the most likely outcome is the Gen 6 led box arts. Very excited to gather 100 Zygarde cells for its event. Oh gosh. Well, fortunately they'd probably do Zygarde last. They'd probably build up to that over the course of the year. Honestly, you'd probably get like... I don't know what order they'd do it in. Do you think they do Yveltal first or Xerneas first? Because well, they'd probably go in Dex order. You could still do Mew and Mewtwo and then get another event pretty easily. Yeah. My biggest problem with Mew and Mewtwo, it makes sense timeline-wise. I understand why for the 30th anniversary that might be what they do. But also, I don't know, having 3 Psychic-type legendaries feels like we're really overloading us on Psychic-type legendaries in Sleep, when we don't even have an Amber Canyon legendary, or to cover the berry for Amber Canyon. The Galar legendaries could be interesting if they had, with, like, Crest versus Darkrai, they gave us an event where Eternatus needs to be quelled down using Zacian and Zamazenta to catch it. XYZ. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. XYZ. I know the alphabet. You think they do the clone mons with patterns? Clone mons. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Like, I don't know. Give us Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. And honestly, I think Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza is probably... If it weren't for the fact that Kyogre overlapped with Suicune on typing, that would be my guess. Because it got more popularity than the Gen 6 box arts. Very nostalgic. I could see people very easily going towards that. And Rayquaza feels like a better dragon than Zygarde does, I guess. Because, like, yes, Zygarde is a dragon. But I also feel like Zygarde it's known for 1,000 arrows is kind of like one of the big things. It's very much so known for being a ground type Pokemon as well. So like, I don't know. It feels like it could be either or. And meanwhile, Rayquaza is dragon. If they make Rayquaza flying type, that feels really weird. I guess it could be because it doesn't have the whole like overlapping typing thing going on. But like, I don't know. Rayquaza is just like the dragoniest of dragons, honestly. They could just give us the birds. The birds, though, have the problem... I talked about, again, overlap. Fire and electric overlap. So I don't see the birds happening. I'd be surprised if they did the birds. The clone mons appeared in the Pokemon movie. Oh, okay. Lugia and Ho-Oh. See, there's also the problem of overlap with Lugia and Ho-Oh. Because, once again, fire and psychic. We have legendaries that already exist for it. Could they do that? Yes. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't think they're going to go a route that's going to lead to too much overlap. If one duplicates, like I said, with like the Regis, they duplicate electric with Raikou and Regieleki. Or with the Weather Trio, they duplicate water type with Suicune and Kyogre. I think they might do that. To like use a more famous legendary trio. Or to use a more beloved one that could get more people hyped about it. But also, I think there was a lot of hype with the Legends ZA game that came out. So implementing, I think, Zygarde, Reveltal, Xerneas. I think it'd be cool, and I think that the devs have some hype to play off of. Relatively new and recent hype that people feel attached to them. So I think the mythical trio of Mew, Celebi, Jirachi. Cool, but there'd be no Amber Canyon coverage. Yep, that's also a thing. But also, there's no guarantee we get Amber Canyon coverage of Barry. Like I said, that's an assumption that I made that really doesn't have any base. Like, there really is no reasoning for that assumption other than just speculation. So I could be completely wrong in that as well. Flying is just such a cringe type in Pokemon Sleep. I would beg to differ. Braviary is a very good Pokemon. And it's only cringe because there's no bad typing in Pokemon Sleep. It's only bad if the mons that have the typing are bad. The typing itself is not what makes a Pokemon bad in this game. Because yes, there are weaker berries, but the third weakest berry is electric type. Does anyone say electric type is bad? No. So if they put flying type on a legendary, if they introduce more flying type Pokemon or give us, or buff flying type Pokemon that exist, then flying type wouldn't feel bad. The only reason why it's bad is because there aren't that many great mons that have the typing. It's really just Braviary. Dodrio's okay. Delabird's okay. There's nothing great outside of really Braviary. Like, that's the best flying type Pokemon, I think. If it's the Weather Trio, it's almost guaranteed they don't have helping bonus. Why would that be the case? I don't understand. Why they wouldn't have help. Oh, help boost. I thought you were talking about the sub-skill help. No, helper boost. I understand. Yeah, they wouldn't. In fact, I don't think whatever the new legendaries are going to have helper boost anyway. Because they're probably going to do something else. Because they like to make things unique and interesting. They didn't make Cresselia and Darkrai just dark type and psychic type helper boost. I don't think they're going to do that with the next Pokemon either. Which starts will be in the summer? Probably too early for next game starters. Oh, yeah, I don't think we're... Oh, starters in the summer? I don't know which starters we'll get, but... Swords of Justice, they also do have no overlap. That is correct. But they also have no Amber Canyon coverage. So, like I said, pretty much every other trio, it's pretty much just the Gen 8s, the dogs, and Eternatus. If you want to have Amber Canyon coverage and have no overlap, and also not use a typing like Dragon for those three that I talked about earlier with the Creation Trio, the only ones that I can think about that would fit like the parameters I set are the Gen 8 ones with Xerneas, the two dogs, Zacian, Zamazenta, and Eternatus, and the Gen 6 box arts with Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde. I went through all of them. Your Dodrio is correct. Nice. It's good to have a good bad Pokemon. Because good sub-skills make bad Pokemon great still in this game. Beast Trio again, but Paradox forms. You know what? Let's do that and just make them all dragon. I just remember Sleep being a big part of the Jirachi Wishmaker movie, so I'd love to make it. I could see that. Raichu's go to the. Oh, Jirachi could be Steel Mythical. Yes. Enamorous. Yes, there's a fairy type. Yes, Enamorous complicates the Weather Trio. Lottie Twins, both dragon types. The Lottie Twins is also an interesting one to mention. Because the Lottie Twins are weird, because if they were to be introduced to Sleep, they'd pretty much have to dupe a typing. Actually, they would, effectively, because either they have to make them both dragon, or they have to make them one dragon, one psychic, or both psychic. I think the most logical implementation is one dragon, one psychic, or do them the same typing, but make them have different main skills. So, like, I don't know how that would implement, but that's also complicated. But I could see a world where they do that. That's another one that is on my, like, possibilities. I think that the most likely options are Gen 6 box arts, Weather Trio. Honestly, Lottie Twins, I could see it. I could see a world with it. Even though it does break a lot of the rules and parameters that I set, I could see it because, like, doing unique things, and it does still cover that Amber Canyon edge. But, yeah. Kalos starters. Oh, you're talking about starters now. Truth and Ideals group overlaps with Raikou. Both dragon types with some type of plus or minus skill that allows you to run them both together. Oh, I would have hated it if they had a skill that made it you had to run them together for them to work well, though. Because that... Good luck catching 2 good legendaries. 1 good legendary is difficult enough and rare enough. It'd really be striking a lottery if you got both. Monkey Dory, my beloved. Oh boy. I did think about the Gen 9 mythical, like the Pecharunt and then the Loyal 3. They actually are logical based on the parameters that I set. I mean, Psychic type does overlap, but theoretically you could do Pecharunt as the Poison type, because it would kind of make sense for it to have the Poison type over the other ones. Like, it could get favor because it is the mythical, so like I could understand why they would do that and make it the Poison type one. And then Psychic, Fairy, and Fighting, those don't overlap, minus the Psychic typing. But also, if we're getting 4 legendaries, I could see that being reasonable. However, okay, I've talked about my theory as to what I think it'll probably be, or what I think are the most likely possibilities. But if I want to talk about what I want to see, I've been very open about this in the Discord. What I want to see is the Treasures of Ruin, because I just think they're cool. And I love Qian Pao. So, I would love it if they introduced the Treasures of Ruin. I don't think that's even on their radar, though, because Gen 9 random... Gen 9, like, you journey around... They're not that popular. Like, they are popular if you're new into the realm, but... yeah. I don't think it's going to happen. But it's what I want. It's what I personally want, because I love them. I think they're so awesome. The Eon Duo, I can't see them in game this year. I mean, you know, hunting 2 legends would be so cringe. Deoxys would be cool, in different forms. Yeah, and then they could give it, like, different rates, so you could theoretically look for any spread. That could be neat. Maybe make 1 a skill specialist, 1 an ingredient specialist, be the first changing, like where you can choose its specialty. That could be neat. And instead of making all specialists, like a variable specialist. Loyal 3 definitely would work. Psychic into Fighting type is a little unfortunate for a trio. That's also true, because 2 of them would cover the same island. I didn't even think about that. They'd sell a ton of main skill seeds, making the Lottie Twins runnable together just in time for a mechanic change. Ooh. Wo-Chien reaction. The live Wo-Chien reaction memes. Just got a sassy Eevee with help speed on Berry Fest and help bonus. Turn it into Espeon or Jolteon. Okay, so Sorry, I had to cough there. Okay. Eevee like that, probably Espeon, because it'd be kind of like, okay. It'd be the best Jolteon build, yes, but Jolteon is significantly weaker than Espeon, so like you have something that's that good, Espeon's probably going to serve you better in the long run. But also consider your box, and that's always a consideration. But yeah, if you have another option for Espeon, then that might be a better one, and then make that one the Jolteon. But if you don't have another great Eevee, then it's probably best served as an Espeon. Bullmoose, I'd love him. Yes. I recently heard that I'm pretty certain Ting Lu is the first moose Pokemon, I think. That's like an if I remember correctly sort of thing. And I'm like, it took till Gen 9 for us to get a moose. It also took till Gen 9 for us to get a dolphin. Like, what? Why are some of these animals, like, taking so long for them to get representation? Like, I guess that's crazy to me because, like, I'm in America and also, like, I went to Alaska for quite some time. So, like, moose are just, like, an obvious thing. Then, yeah. If Stantler's a deer, then yes. Okay. Yeah, I would say Stantler's a deer. Like Espeon to have more triggers. Fair enough, but 252 plus special attack, Beads of Ruin, Terrifier, Overheat. Yeah! Talking VGC stuff or competitive, yes. Chi-Yu does deal a lot of damage in Gen 9. That is true. See, I think it'd be cool if they introduced the Treasures of Ruin, and this is all just, like, talking way speculation that I don't think is going to happen, but first, passive effects for them just being on the field. I think that could be neat. And have some interesting implications. Now, I wouldn't want them to be nerfs to the team. They'd ideally be buffs to the team. But also, like, if they were really, really powerful, and then, like, their aura made a nerf. We theorized this in the Discord a while back, because, like, the natures do sync up with certain attributes that the Treasures of Ruin decrease. So, like, you could figure it out off of that. Because, let's see. What does a nature chart look like? Let's see. Tinglu Ground and Chi-Yu Fire is unfortunate for a legendary set. Yeah, they also would match on a single island. And Qian Pao at Snowdrop, my beloved... Qian Pao, for those that don't know, is personally my favorite legendary Pokemon, I think. So, yeah. Like, it to be at stinking Snowdrop would be sad. But anyway, because Snowdrop is just, ugh. Yeah, so let's see. Decrease stat. Defense. So Qian Power lowers defense. So these are the speed. That's speed down. What is this decreasing? Oh, this is speed up, and Lonely's energy down. So theoretically, Qian Pao would, like, decrease energy recovery. Like, Wo Chien decreases attack. Which that'd be the worst, because it would decrease speed. You don't want to decrease the speed on your Pokemon, because these are all the speed natures. Speed down natures. These are all the energy recovery down natures. Special attack, which is what Chi-Yu would do, is decreasing ingredient finding. Which that could have some very interesting implications, especially if you have like on a berry team. And then special defense down is like skill down. So the only one that they're missing is XP gains, which like totally works, because I don't know how you would make a passive effect based around XP gains down, like an inverse sleepy XP bonus. Which there'd be very easy ways to play around that. So I think it's kind of interesting that they line up with the 4 things that actually have reasonable stats you could play with, as in the form of a passive effect. So I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to actually happen, but I like the idea of team building around that. It may make them suck and be difficult, but like as long as you make them really powerful in some other way, especially Wo Chien, they'd have to really make Wo Chien like really, really, really good to be alright with a passive frequency debuff on everything, then it'd be interesting. Like, I don't know. I'd love to try and team build around dealing with the passive effects. Like I said earlier, I always like when there's a new mechanic implemented or something, because I like the idea of trying to team build around it. I'm not bothered by the change of Skillsgate. I am bothered by the transparency of it. The lack of transparency, or lack thereof. But I actually kind of like the change because it's changing how I'm thinking about team building. And I would love that with that sort of thing anyway. When level 70? My guess is soon. Probably like right before, or right after the next legendary event is my guess. I think it's soon-ish because of the increase to the level 7 main skill for charge strength specialists. I think they buffed them because they were getting to a point where they weren't the best generalists. Berry specialists could do better in general sense. So I think that's to combat. When level 70 comes out, berry specialists are going to get even better comparatively. So, yeah. I think that's soon-ish. But I don't think it's going to be until after the next legendary event, because I'm pretty confident that the update they're doing next Monday is loading all the information for the next 2 events, the type week for whatever legendary event is going to be after it, and then the legendary event itself. And then after that is when I think they'll have to do another maintenance for whatever is following that legendary event, which I think it's going to be in that maintenance is probably going to be when they push the skill cap level. Or not skill cap, level 75. Not level 75. I think that's going to be when it's level 70. So, yeah, that's to be determined, but that's my theory. That's my hypothesis. Okay, I can definitely see Mega Evolution being a mechanic in Sleep. We already have most of the Mega candidates in the game. Boosting one of your mons can be cool. Mega Evolution, it's cool, it's hyped, but I don't know how I feel about it in Sleep. I have the most neutral opinion on it in Sleep as ever can be. I've seen some people that say they'd hate it because they don't want megas in the Sleep game, that it's just supposed to be chill and relaxed, and that would kind of ruin that effect. I've seen other people say they really want megas because megas are cool, which I can agree to some extent with both sides of it. So my opinions on megas in Sleep is, if they give it to us, I'd love to team build around it. I'd love to try and min-max it. But I'm not going to be like knocking down the door like, give us megas. Because I don't feel that impassioned about megas in Sleep. If it happens, it happens. I'll take it. But if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be upset either. Mons with multiple megas can flip between specialty. BFS Charizard's neat. Lucario being something else is neat. I mean, that could be kind of cool. I don't know. Well, only time will tell, or only time could tell, what megas could do. Decrease frequency, but doubles berries for all teammates. Imagine 6 berries per Berrymon proc. I mean, that would be a way to make Wo-Chien good. If they're using it. I mean, theoretically... Well, okay, yeah, there's nothing boosted by their passive effects, so it's just that pure decrease. So, yeah, I don't know. Although, I was saying when we were talking about this, so if Wo-Chien decreased frequency, Qianpao decreased energy recovery, like an energy recovery down nature, Chi-Yu decreased skill triggers, and the other one, Ting-Lu decreased ingredient finding, then, like, it'd be interesting because I feel like the best ones there are the decrease ingredient finding and decrease to energy recovery. Because there's a lot, like, just really good healers can get around the energy recovery nerf. And the ingredient finding, you could theoretically run it on a berry-focused team, and then it's just a strict upgrade, basically. So, like, there's some implications there that I think are neat, and it's interesting because the best ones would be Ting-Lu and Qianpao, probably. We have to see what else would they do. Meanwhile, Chi-Yu decreasing skill triggers would be kind of annoying and would not be the best, especially with healing, because it would make your healer worse, less reliable. So that would actually be like a significant debuff to consider. But then Wo-Chien killing your frequency, yeah, that definitely would get the worst of all of them. There's no doubt about that. How do you feel about swimming Pokemon? I think they could reasonably get added, especially like at Cyan Beach. I think it'd be kind of cool if they actually utilized like the water space at Cyan and at Lapis to somehow have like Pokemon occasionally spawn in the water. I think that'd be kind of cool and add a little bit more life to the game. Additionally, another island. If we start theorizing about post-Amber Canyon islands, they could add like Snorlax on a life raft in the middle of the water. And that could be kind of cool. Don't know how we'd camp there. I guess we'd be camping on a raft. But that's kind of an idea that I've thought about before, and that could be a neat way for them to introduce all those swimming Pokemon. So, and then that could be a way that you use Waterberry. Maybe an island like that could be like water, ice. Maybe it could be like up in the cold with a bunch of icebergs around. Maybe Snorlax is sleeping on an iceberg. There's a bunch of water around him. I don't know. That could be like water, ice, and no, not normal, because that would dupe 2 berries with Snowdrop. I don't know, water, ice, and... Yeah, I can't think of what the third berry would be there. Maybe it could be mossy iceberg, and it could be water, ice, grass. There you go. That'd be crazy. Okay, Cyan Pokemon, but Pokemon that aren't water, flying, or fairy will drown. Cyan Beach. Kind of surprised Gyarados isn't in the game yet. I think it's mostly because they... Well, they could easily... I think it's just because they struggled to think of how to put fish on land without making them look uncomfortable. Especially Magikarp, because like Magikarp is known for like flopping, and it needs to look like it's sleeping. And Magikarp can't sleep on land because that implies that the fish is dead. So I don't know. I think that's why Gyarados isn't in the game, just because it has some weird implications with a fish sleeping on land. So I think that's why. Yeah. What, flopping Magikarp doesn't cause distress? Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they added, though, because it is such a fan favorite, but I don't know. I think that's why they are a bit hesitant about all the fish Pokemon, because there isn't a single fish yet. Dead sleep style goes crazy. That's the 5-star sleep style. Now you've never seen it, because they just don't want to take that morbid turn. That's what the 5th star is, everybody. That's another great mystery. When are we going to get the 5th star, or the 5-star sleep styles, and what are they going to be? Because that's a weird detail that I don't see talked about enough, is that there is a slot for a 5th star, but there is no such thing as a 5-star sleep style in this game. That means the devs do intend to give us a 5-star sleep style at some point, or at least intended to when the game was launched, but they haven't done it yet. So what is it going to be? My running theory is Cyan Beach Expert. So as of right now, 3-star styles are primarily just at the non-green grass areas. My theory is that 5-star styles are going to be exclusive to non-green grass expert modes. Non-green grass expert modes. Similar to how at launch 3-star styles were exclusive to non-green grass. But like 5 stars is just going to be like the next step because it'll be only at expert modes. But do they want to gate those super rare sleep styles behind expert mode? Or I don't know. That could be a way to make it give more rewards to go to expert mode for the other islands. And a neat way to make it better to go to the non-green grass options. Every Pokemon becomes Cursola in the end. Oh gosh. Not Cursola. Oh. Anyway, it's 11:30 here in Wisconsin. I'm getting a bit tired because, like I said, I was up late last night making you guys that news video. So I think I'm going to cut it here. I am feeling pretty drained So thank you all for tuning in, the 30 of you that I have right now. It's been a great night. Glad to talk about stuff with y'all. It's always great to talk about Pokemon Sleep.